Everybody wanna know the same thing. Wavy Wayne, how can we get them vocals to sit in the mix, man? Well, come on in and let's talk about it, baby. What up, y'all? This is Wavy Wayne, back at you again, and that's right, today we're gonna be answering some of them questions that y'all been asking all over the place, especially in the Wavy Seals group, all right? If you're not already joined the Wavy Seals, make sure that you click that link in the description or just go to seals.wavywayne.com and join the army of engineers and producers we taking over the world out here, all right? If you already a Wavy Seal, shout out to you. Let's get it, all right? So today's topic is going to be all about how we can sit that vocal perfectly in the mix. Now, that's ultimately most pop records, and when I say pop records, I mean hip hop, R&B, popular genres. The vocal is like the center point of the record. So it's very important to make sure that our vocals sound good. It's important that they are sitting properly in the mix. Now, what does that mean? That means that they're not too loud. It means that it's not too quiet. It means that the width of them is just right and everything like that. So we want to make sure that those vocals are sitting right. And yeah, and that is one key to automatically make your mix stand out and sound better right off the jump. So let's go ahead and take a listen to this session that I have, and I'll give you a few of my top tips of how I like to keep my vocals sitting perfectly in the mix, all right? So let's go ahead and take a look at this session. Now, you see, I've done a lot in this session already. This is I Told You by MC Trey. Super dope record. It's already out. Let's take a listen to it a little bit. I'll play some of this hook and then into the first verse. Right now, let me actually, most of what I've done is in the mix. You're gonna hear it right now. Some of the stuff is not loaded up right now, but you'll get the general idea of what the mix sounds like. Let's go ahead and hear that.
Oh no, don't try to love me now. I told you where you was at when I was down. But no you, yo, I can't trust you, move around. Hey, fuck you, ain't no more else, we winning now. You lose, I told you. When I needed aid, you threw me shade. I needed your love, you brought me pain. I ain't got no time to waste. Say that bullshit, don't hit my line today. I got a lot on my brain, got a lot on my plate. On my head and get thanks with having no other way.
So see, one of my crucial elements to that vocal I had bypassed. That's why that level dropped so much. Let's just hear it again in that section.
I ain't got no time to waste. Say that bullshit, don't hit my line today. I got a lot on my brain, got a lot on my plate. Bow my head and get thanks with having no other way. Another day, another state, another chance to be great. Another chance, you're miserable, I can stop all the hate. Yeah, to each his own.
That's the hottest record of 2019, man, on me. But yeah, let's just go ahead and dissect this verse vocal right here. This is the one we're gonna be focusing on. I'm gonna go over to my mix window so we can take a look at this, okay? And I'm gonna pretty much bypass all of the processing that's happening on these tracks, with the exception of the time-based effects, the reverbs and delays and stuff like that. We can keep that like that, all right? The number one tip, my first tip on how to get that vocal to sit perfectly in the middle is a very easy one, and it has to do with panning, okay? If you look at the pan, you'll see exactly where my vocal is sitting, and the lead vocal should always and forever sit directly in the center channel. There's no need to pan that lead vocal. The lead vocal, keep it right up in the middle, okay? Now, if you take it to the left or to the right, maybe for a second, just for some special effects, that's cool. But for the duration, for the most part of your mix, make sure that you got that lead vocal pan up in the center. Other really high energy instruments in your mix should also be panned right up the center. And with those, I mean kick, bass, your snare, and that lead vocal for sure, okay? So make sure you always keep those items panned directly up the center, especially that lead vocal, all right? The second tip to keeping that vocal perfectly in the pocket, to sitting it in the mix, is gonna be all about using that volume fader, okay? You wanna have your vocal be about the same level as the snare, or a little bit louder, okay? Now, if your mix doesn't have a snare, maybe it has a clap or some other kind of percussive instrument. Man, I'm talking about for like hip hop, pop, R&B type of music that, you know, has the snare right on there, right on the 2 and the 4. That is the type of music that we need to make sure that our vocal is sitting right about that same level as the snare. And with doing this, I'm just going to use the volume fader. Nothing fancy here. We're just going to use that volume fader and try to sit that vocal somewhere where our ears are perceiving it to be about the same loudness as the snare in the beat. All right, so let's do that.
On my brain, got a lot on my plate. Bow my head and get thanks, wouldn't have it no other way. Another day, another state, another chance to be great. Another chance, so miserable I can stop all the hate. Yeah, to each his own, bang my chest like King Kong. I'm the daddy, yeah, I'm grown, time to pay for what they owe.
All right. So now I think we're sitting pretty good right there with only a pan and a level adjustment, okay? Another thing to keep in mind as you are mixing is remember that the vocal, even though a lot of times we're just gonna download like a 2-track beat from YouTube or whatever it is, and we're kind of just like sitting that vocal on top of it, don't think about sitting that vocal on top of the beat. Think about how you can fit the vocal into the beat, into the music, right? Everything needs to come out as one, not 2 layers, right? And this ain't a cake with the ice cream with the icing on top. This is more like a multiple layer cake, you know what I'm saying? Got icing all up in that thing. All right, but you know what I'm talking about, man. Make sure that the vocal is another instrument in the music and not just something that's sticking out. Now, it is the lead instrument in that music, so, you know, you do want to give it some special attention, but you don't want it to just be standing out there all by itself, all right? So I got the vocal set with my pan, and then I set my level. Cool, we're doing good here. Now, the next thing that I'll typically do is DS. Now, I'm just gonna DS to roll off some of those sibilant frequencies, and you know, that's pretty simple right there.
Lot on my brain, got a lot on my plate. Bow my head and get thanks, wouldn't have it no other way. Another day, another state, another chance to be great.
Now, this vocal didn't really need a lot of heavy DSing, and if it is too much, don't worry, because I'm gonna go back with an EQ later, and I'm gonna fix that, okay? The next thing that we're gonna jump into is the EQ. Now, I did use a multi-band compressor on here, but I'm not gonna get into that right now. We're gonna bypass that and see how we can just make this sound good with just the basics. How can we get this vocal to sit in the pocket with just the basic tools, okay? Now, you will see that what I have done in this EQ right here, and I'll play before and after and kind of explain why I did what, okay? So let's hear it without that EQ a little bit, and then midway I'll just turn it on, take the bypass off.
Lot on my brain, got a lot on my plate. Bow my head and get thanks, wouldn't have it no other way. Another day, another state, another chance to be great. Another chance, so miserable I can stop all the hate. Yeah, to each his own, bang my chest like King Kong. I'm the daddy, yeah, I'm grown, time to pay for what they owe. Prepare for the best, expecting the worst.
Okay, now you can kind of hear what happened there. Now, my EQ is a little bit drastic. I'm cutting out like what, 6 dB here at about 200 hertz. Now that is pretty drastic, and you hear a drastic change in volume. One of the first things that I do when I am EQing a vocal, and let me just turn all of this off real quick. We can bring them back in as we need to. But one of the first things that I do is use a high pass filter, okay? Nothing in that vocal under like 80 hertz is gonna be any use to you anyway. So first thing you should do after you get your level and pan set, open up your EQ, activate the high pass filter so that you can get rid of that unnecessary rumble in the low end, all right? Now, how do I do that? Again, typically anything under kind of 80 hertz is a good indicator for a vocal that you really don't need anything lower than that. But at this point, you see I'm rolling off all the way up to like 110 hertz. But how do I determine how much I'm gonna roll off? all by listening, okay? So let's do this together. I'm just gonna back this all the way off, and then slowly, as the music is playing, as I'm playing that vocal, I'm gonna start rolling off and I'm listening, right? And when I'm using the high pass filter, what I'm listening for is for me to kind of hit the point to where I roll off a little too much at the low end and it sounds kind of thin, and then I'm gonna roll it back. That way I know that I cut off as much low frequencies as possible without really affecting that shape and sound and timbre of the vocal. All right, so let's do this.
Lot on my brain, got a lot on my plate. Bow my head and get thanks when having no other way. Another day, another state, another chance to be great. Another chance, so miserable I can stop all the hate. Yeah, to each his own, bang my chest like King Kong. I'm the daddy, yeah, I'm grown. Time to pay for what they owe. Prepare for the best. Lot on my brain, got a lot on my plate.
See, that's actually sounding pretty good to me right there. Let's see if I go a little bit further, what'll happen.
Lot on my brain, got a lot on my plate. Bow my head and get thanks when having no other way. Another day, another state, another chance to be great. Another.
Still not terrible, but we can just go ahead and back it off a little bit just so he has a little more body, okay?
Lot on my brain, got a lot on my plate. Bow my head and get thanks when having no other way. Another day, another state, another chance to be great.
Cool, that sounds pretty good to me, so we'll leave that right there. Now, while you have this EQ open, you want to sweep for any other kind of problem frequencies that may be lurking in that vocal, all right? Oftentimes, that low mid-range will have some problems in it, and this is where you do that boost and sweep method. If you've seen my other EQ tutorials, then you know that this is a method that I use all the time. I like this boost and sweep method. So let's go ahead and do that.
Lot on my brain, got a lot on my plate. Bow my head and get.
I'm just gonna activate this little channel here. Now to do the boost and sweep, you wanna just boost a particular band, and then you're gonna sweep around that frequency spectrum to hear something that you don't like, or if you know exactly what a problem is, as you train your ears, then you'll be able to identify frequencies like, yo, sounds a little heavy on that 300 hertz or around 400 hertz. You can go right to that dial and adjust that, but we're gonna just sweep for a sound like we're trying to find it right now.
Lot on my brain, got a lot on my plate. Bow my head and get thanks when having no other way. Another day, another state, another chance to be great. Another chance, so miserable I can stop all the hate. Yeah, to each his own, bang my chest like King Kong. I'm the daddy, yeah, I'm grown. Time to pay for what they.
Okay, so right about 220 hertz, it seems like that is gonna give us a little bit of mud right there, a little boxiness. So we're gonna go ahead and dip that out very subtly.
Lot on my brain, got a lot on my plate. Bow my head and get thanks when having no other way. Another day, another state, another chance to be great. Another chance, so miserable I can stop all the hate. Yeah, to each his own.
Cool, that sounded a little bit cleaner right there. And then one more thing that I'll do with this EQ. Now, of course, you can go as crazy as you want to with the EQ, but you know, you want to kind of keep it natural. But one other thing that I'll do to help that vocal kind of cut through the mix now is to add a little bit of a high shelf on it, right? And a lot of popular music nowadays, those high frequencies are going crazy. So, you know, just to stay up with what everything is, with what's going on out there, I'm gonna add a little bit of high frequencies up on this top end. It looked like I was boosting starting around like 8K or somewhere like that. So here we go. Let's just actually activate that and see what happened. I put a 1.5 dB boost at 7.8.
Lot on my brain, got a lot on my plate. Bow my head and get thanks when having no other way. Another day, another state, another chance to be great. Another chance, so miserable I can stop all the hate. Yeah, to each his own, bang my chest like King Kong. I'm the daddy, yeah, I'm grown. Time to pay for what they owe.
Cool. That slight boost up there at that top end just kind of opens up that vocal, adds a little more air, adds a little more space to it, and it really cuts through. I'm going to play this again. We're going to bypass the EQ and then bring it back in just to make sure that the changes we made actually sound good.
Lot on my brain, got a lot on my plate. Bow my head and get thanks when having no other way. Another day, another state, another chance to be great. Another chance, so miserable I can stop all the hate. Yeah, to each his own, bang my chest like King Kong. I'm the daddy, yeah, I'm grown. Time to pay for what they owe. Prepare for the best.
Another great technique that can be very useful when trying to set your levels is to turn your monitoring level down, like your monitors. Make it quieter in your control room, okay? Now, when you want to try to get a balance on something, the lower you kind of turn those monitors down, when you're listening real quiet, it'll make it very apparent if something is too loud. It'll just stick out. Right? If something is too quiet when you're listening at low monitors, it'll kind of almost disappear and you won't be able to hear it at all. So when I'm setting my crucial levels and getting those really fine details, I'll often listen on like small monitors or just turn the levels down really low and just turn the levels down really low and set my levels that way. All right. Now, and then you can turn it back up to your normal mixing level when you want to kind of get that feeling and do some more stuff to it. But, you know, when you fine tuning those levels, turn the volume down, listen at a quieter level. And I guarantee you, when you turn it back up, your balance will be more on point. OK. And while we talking about monitoring levels, let's also just remember that you can also mix in mono. Mixing in mono helps to save so much time. I actually have a mono switch on my monitor station here, so if you don't have that, what you might need to get a little bit more creative. I know there's some ways in Pro Tools that you can do this, but a lot of times now the monitoring stations that we all have, you can just hit a mono button on it. It allows you to monitor in mono, and that's really great for setting levels and even EQing the different instruments in your record. It just helps to get that separation a whole lot easier, because once you can get it sounding good in mono, when you switch it back to stereo, it's gonna be good, all right? I'm gonna leave y'all with one more technique that I really like to use to help make my vocal cut through, and it's gonna be parallel compression. All right. Now, there's a bunch of different ways to use parallel compression nowadays, and one of my favorite ways is just by actually using plugins that offer a mix control on a compressor, right? Like this distressor that I have right here. Now, this distressor, it has a mix control that allows me to blend between my compressed signal and my uncompressed or dry signal. Now that's basically parallel compression without setting up a whole bunch of tracks and stuff like that. Now I am going to show you the typical way, but let's just see how we can use this distressor to for parallel compression and blend it in and make this vocal really kind of sit in that mix and stand out at the same time. For those of y'all who are not familiar with parallel compression is also known as New York compression or upward compression. And with that technique, you basically have two copies of whatever signal it is that you want to compress. In this case, it's going to be our vocal. So I'm going to have one copy or channel of the vocal that is uncompressed or lightly compressed, and then on the other channel I'm going to squash the hell out of that copy of the vocal, and then I'm going to blend between the uncompressed version and the compressed version or the squashed version, and that way I get this kind of tight ball of sound that's consistent, and I still have my dynamics popping over here from my uncompressed copy. Okay, so when we're using a method like using the mix control in a distressor, what I need to do is just squash the hell out of it right now. So here we go.
Lot on my brain, got a lot on my plate. Bow my head and get thanks when having no other way. Another day, another state, another chance to.
So I'm getting about 17 dB of attenuation on here, and you hear that it just sounds crazy, right? We would never go with that amount of compression. But let's see, since we can blend between the compressed version and the uncompressed here, we might be able to do some interesting things here. So now that I got this squashed, let's listen once I start to blend.
Lot on my brain, got a lot on my plate. Bow my head and get thanks when having no other way. Another day, another state, another chance to be great. Another chance, so miserable I can stop all the hate. Yeah, to each his own, baby.
I like that, right? So now just listen before and after.
Lot on my brain, got a lot on my plate. Bow my head and get thanks when having no other way. Another day, another state, another chance to be great. Another chance, so miserable I can stop all the hate. Yeah, to each his own, bang my chest like King Kong.
Right now I get even more dynamics, more power, more forwardness from that vocal by using this parallel compression technique. Now, if you didn't have a compressor that allows you to set up parallel compression this way, let's take a look at how we could do this in another way. What I would do is create an aux input track. So I'm just gonna create a new mono. Let me move this over here to this screen so y'all can see it. I'm gonna create a mono aux input track. And I'm using a mono aux input track because my source is mono. So whenever you're using parallel compression, whatever the source is, you make the parallel compressed track that same width, okay? So if I was doing like my drums bus and it was stereo, then I would have made a stereo aux input track right now. So we're just gonna name this P-comp for parallel compression, mainly because I don't know how to spell parallel, brother. But I digress. All right, and then I'm just gonna insert a compressor right over here. You know what? I'm just gonna drag this distressor and drop it right over there because I can use that same plug-in, right? It doesn't matter what you use. Then the only thing that does matter now is that I'm gonna use my sends, and check this out. Pro Tools, if you rocking on Pro Tools 12 and later, there's a really great way to send from one track to the other, and that's just by, I'm gonna go to a send selector and I'm gonna hit send to a track, right? And then I see my P-comp track right here. And Pro Tools will automatically send out, it'll name the bus. You see how the input now matches that same bus that I'm sending out to? And here's my send level, okay? Now, what you want to remember about this is to be sure to set this to unity gain. You can option click the fader to set it to unity gain, or if you on a PC, that would be an alt click. And also make this send a pre-fader send, all right? That way that the level of the actual sending track does not affect the level going into the compression, all right? Now we can close that, and then let's just open our compressor and take a look at this, okay? Now, let's take that off bypass. Remember when we were using it directly on the channel, I had to blend between the wet and dry signal. Well, in this case, we're just gonna imagine that we don't have that that liberty to do that. So, and you know what? Let's just use a stock compressor, because this may seem a little intimidating to some of y'all, especially if you don't have this compressor. So we're gonna use this Dyne 3 compressor limiter. This is a great compressor. I use it all the time too. Cool. So again, the goal here is the same. You just want to squash the hell out of it. So that means, you know, 10, 12, 15 dB of attenuation. Yeah, and that's how we're going to do this. So I'm just going to mute the original channel. And since it's pre-fader send, we'll still be able to get signal to our parallel compression chain. And I'm just going to squash it. We're going to do a high ratio. Chance, you're miserable like a stop all the hate. Yeah, to each his own, babe, my chill like King Kong. I'm the daddy, yeah, I'm grown. Time to pay for what they owe. All right, cool. Now we got that super heavily compressed copy here, and we can close this. And I'm just gonna bring down the fader of the compressed version. I'm gonna unmute my original version, and I'm just gonna slowly add some of this compression in, just a little bit, until I feel it's sitting good. Got a lot on my plate. Bow my head and get thanks when having no other way. Another day, another state, another chance to be great. Another chance, you're miserable like a stop all the hate. Yeah, to each his own, babe, my chill like King Kong. I'm the sounds really good. All right, now let's go ahead and we're gonna mute this as it's playing so we can get the flavor between it, all right? Got a lot on my plate. Bow my head and get thanks when having no other way. Another day, another state, another chance to be great. Another chance, you're miserable like a stop all the hate. Yeah, to each his own, babe, my... All right, y'all, so that is a inside look at how I would ultimately get that vocal to sit perfectly in a mix, all right? If you have any other techniques that work for getting vocals to sit in your mix, don't forget to go ahead and drop them down in the comments so that we all can learn from it. And also go to seals.wavywayne.com, join the Wavy Seals, and share those tips there as well, all right? This has been another tutorial from your boy Wavy. Hit up wavywayne.com if you need some custom Pro Tools templates, or shoot me an email if you need me to just go ahead and drip that sauce all over your record. You know what I'm talking about? Don't forget to be dope. What up, YouTube? What up, y'all? This Wavy Wayne back at you again. And before I do that, you know I gotta come with some jokey jokes. So let me think about what my jokey joke about to be. You wanna learn how to mix them vocals, right? You tired of your vocals jumping out the mix and just not sitting right? Do you wanna know? Stop scratching, making noise. Do you want to know the secrets to mixing the perfect vocal? What am I supposed to say?